as of right now, we are discussing moving forward with that class certification, which could involve all of you guys. I brought the whole TuneCore situation to you about 2 weeks ago, and this was my Dear TuneCore video where I just laid out the whole situation. My law office is representing a client who distributed music on TuneCore's platform and eventually had to hire us, which is expensive, okay? And not everyone has the opportunity to hire an attorney, and so this thing just escalated. It was at a point where our client was so frustrated, and there were just tens of thousands of dollars in royalties that TuneCore had taken. TuneCore wasn't really communicating with him, he couldn't get responses, and so, really, a good move is to hire an attorney, because I promise, if someone gets a demand letter, a threatening demand letter from an attorney, they typically respond. So that's one benefit of it. And lo and behold, we did get a response from TuneCore. Anyway, so on that initial video, I just kind of went through some of the evidence that we had provided to TuneCore. I went through and showed you TuneCore's terms of service, showing that, they're like, hey, we can just take your royalties if there's ever a claim against you, including from third parties. Because, guys, we deal with this all the time where someone's like, you stole my song. And so they file a copyright claim, and it might be directly just to Spotify, right? Or it might be to your distributor. So whoever it goes to, it can result in the song getting taken down altogether. And they do this just as a quick, knee-jerk reaction, because these distributors and the music platforms, the digital service providers, DSPs, they do this because they're like, we don't want to have secondary liability, which can happen if someone's like, hey, they're stealing my song, you are enabling them to steal my song. So that's why they do this. It's just a quick reaction. They just take it down. They're like, I'm not going to get involved. So, that had happened, but the reason that was provided was alleged streaming fraud. So in any case, once we got involved and we're like, obviously provide us any evidence, we need to understand your position, they never gave us anything. What I just kind of explained is that, they get on the phone with me, and just it ended up going this whole other direction where it wasn't about the actual contract, which is the terms of service, and the fact that the terms of service were unlawful, in that they just are taking royalties when there's just a claim. No one's proved anything. And so we pointed and did our case research, right? And pointed to applicable law, and they still came back and eventually just got really insulting to our client and about our client. And they're like, we think that he's a big fraudster, he's a scumbag. And so anyway, just, after several months of this is when I finally brought it to you. And our client was nice enough to allow us to kind of share this. And so anyway, we went through the whole gambit, showed our, initial demand letter, showed the evidence, showed the funding that was paid, for marketing efforts. And then we've just kind of continued the conversation, because we are still moving along with TuneCore, right? That wasn't the end of the story. We're not like, this just really sucks and we're just going to talk about it. No, we're actually in the middle of this, and we want to tell you guys what's going on. And so anyway, on the last update, what I did is I showed you, and last week, I showed you our final ditch effort letter. And so if you want to watch that, go check it out after this. But in the letter, I just reiterated our position. I'm like, you have literally just said, like, we're ignoring law. We're ignoring everything that you are pointing to, and we're just, going to basically stand on, this is an ethical issue. We feel that we should just, keep the royalties, or we should be able to, give it to someone else if we so choose, because as we allege, your client has engaged in streaming fraud. We think that's unethical. And so therefore, we're not going to contribute to this. And obviously, my whole issue with this is I go, even if they're right and they haven't proved anything, they haven't provided any kind of evidence, even if you're right, what gives you the right to just take royalties that belong to someone else? That's my personal opinion, but my personal opinion doesn't matter, right? I pointed to the law that says you can't do that. Well, they came back with their personal opinion, which is, yes, we can, and, do as you wish. In the final go at it, I go, we not only provided the letter, but we also drafted the complaint. And for those of you newer to litigation, if you've never sued or been sued, the complaint is the thing you file with the court, and it's the big outline. It goes, dear judge, here's all this stuff that's happened. Here are our claims, and here's the damages that we want. And something that I mentioned in the letter to TuneCore was that I'm like, this is, something that we've discussed publicly. It's gotten a lot of support. And in fact, many of you still, as of today, I'm seeing comment after comment. This just happened to me yesterday. This just happened to me last week. I've been dealing with this forever, and I just found your video. And so the point just being that a lot of people have been dealing with this. And so to the extent that there's so many people affected by this, we have the potential to get class certification. So if TuneCore, if we have to file this, complaint against you and we initiate a real lawsuit, just understand that our intention is to seek class certification. So this is not just our client now. You should be scared of our client, but you should also understand that you have caused this now to escalate quite a bit. So anyway, that was the last update. And we gave them till Friday in TuneCore's, ongoing, I don't want to say professionalism, but lack of. Friday came and went. No response. And this is kind of how it's been with them. Just, and their internal deadlines that we set, right? Nothing's going to blow up because someone misses a deadline, but obviously just from like a professional courtesy kind of thing, there's that. But also, come Monday, I go, all right. I reach out one last time. I'm like, just understand, like, we're moving forward with this. We're looking to file this complaint, all that. We get an answer. I guess South by Southwest is coming up. They're like, we need to talk just to one more person on the team. We're going to get back to you. So sorry. All the times that we initially kind of hit this, every time the attorney would come back, it would be a very just dismissive kind of, we're just, standing on this feeling of ethics versus now they're talking to all these people. So, obviously to our credit, to your credit, there's potentially a different outcome, and we're going to actually talk about next steps. But before I get to that, I've had a few conversations with some YouTubers. Now, for those of you watching, drop me a comment on this. So, Curtiss King, also a big YouTuber, and let me show you their channels, okay? Because I can just give a little shout out. Curtiss King, musician, creator, and on his channel, he covers a lot of similar issues as far as what's affecting, independent artists, and he even did a reaction video to my original TuneCore video. Cool guy. I just had a chance to connect with him. And then I also spoke with Benn Jordan. Here's his YouTube channel. And anyway, so I had some very different takes from both of them. For those of you, drop it in the comments. Do you follow either of these YouTubers? And I'll start with Curtiss King. We had a really interesting conversation, and he took his music off of digital service provider platforms, off of the DSPs a few months ago. And he was just sharing that he got, quite a bit of backlash about it. Okay. And it was something I even said to him. I go, a bunch of my followers were tagging him when this TuneCore thing came out. So that's what prompted me to kind of check him out and to see what he was doing. And then I saw he was covering the TuneCore situation. And what I had noticed is that, you go to his links on social media and I couldn't find his music on Spotify. In fact, there was other people using his name, which I told him about. I'm like, hey, these are like other potentially trademark infringers. We should deal with that. But anyway, I didn't find his music. And I go, that's odd. So we had a chance to talk about it. And so what's interesting is that he goes, because these middlemen essentially, these music distributors, and even the actual, DSPs themselves, they're all taking a cut and are exploitative, in nature and otherwise just aren't needed. And so he goes, what's been kind of interesting is that me taking my music off of music platforms altogether so that, my real fans, they go through my website and they can buy my album, the digital album, they can buy a physical album, they can buy other stuff from me. And it's allowed me to really become like a great salesperson, which, a lot of musicians and producers don't do. And I totally agree with that, right? I'm always, hey guys, we got to think like record labels, sell like rock stars. Take the skill sets that record labels do really well, which is learn how to exploit the music to make money, but just don't have someone else do it for you and then they own your music. You do it for you. I dig what he was saying. But my thought on it, even for my own music, that would just prevent people from easily being able to check out some of my stuff if I took everything off, right? And I go, so my concern is from the kind of marketing piece. Yes, you don't make very much money at all if you have your music on Spotify, but equally, most people have Spotify. Equally, most people have, get music on Amazon, like whatever it is. And so by removing the ease of someone's checking out your music on a platform they already listen to music on, are you limiting your marketing? And, arguably, yes. And he goes, no, I get that, but he goes, at the end of the day, kind of, this admission of he is an independent artist. He wants to, grow his thing. And anyway, I commend him for what he's doing. I think it's cool. And we've seen other artists doing the same thing. So I dig it. Now, conversely, when I had a chat with Benn, and so Benn has two music brands. One is the Flashbulb and the other is under Benn Jordan. Okay. And so that's just on the music platforms. And then for you to, for those of you who follow him on YouTube, he does like these great documentaries and he's a great filmmaker. So he's just a very creative guy. But in any case, he has quite a few listeners. I think on the Flashbulb, it's like 300,000 people listen to him every month, right? So, it's cool stuff. But anyway, I brought this up to him because we got into it about TuneCore because I'd mentioned him in my original video. I'm like, hey, this guy Benn was posting on, X. He had this whole thing with TuneCore. TuneCore took down, I think it was 23 of his albums. He got no notice because that was one of the questions I had. I was like, what happened? Did it was streaming fraud? Did you stream the fraud and fraud the stream, Benn? And he's like, no. And I believe him. But he goes, no, in fact, they didn't even give me a reason. He goes, it was just over a weekend. I just wake up and, it's gone. And he goes, initially, like some of my fans thought that I had done this intentionally because I've been kind of like anti Spotify for a while. And so maybe I just pulled my music off. And so when I asked him about that, I go, well, we've heard other artists who make this move. And they're like, forget the middleman. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going straight to the fans. And I go, what's your thought on that? And he had a little bit of a different perspective. And he just goes, personally, I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't want to do that, at least as of now, because he just feels like it would be punishing his fans. And he goes, I just, again, I don't want to limit where people can find me. I don't want to limit their consumption of my stuff. And quite frankly, if there was a music platform where I could just put my music and people could listen to it for free, and there was kind of that ease of access, he goes, I'd just do that. So I thought all of that was pretty interesting. But somewhere in the middle of all of this, I think I fall between both of them. And I'm like, I think for my next album, I'll probably release singles and I'll use it as promotion, right? So you just, the big push, the music videos, the singles, put it out there so people can check it out, get a taste of what you're doing, but then push them to your website, push them to get an album, push them to, do the download of the album, and just to be kind of part of your community, because it's more about like this perspective shift. And Ben talked about this. He goes, it's also just helping your fans to understand that they can really help you in a meaningful way. And he's like, I have a Patreon. He goes, I didn't want to do that because it just comes off so like charity. But he goes, me just opening up a way that people who do support me to support me makes us kind of connect more. And I totally get that. So I kind of commend both, Curtiss and Ben for what they're both trying with their own music careers, and also, just trying to bring more awareness about the TuneCore situation. With that all being said, though, about Curtiss and Ben, because I have these conversations recorded, and drop me a comment right now for who you would like to see. If you want to see my conversation with Ben, do you want to see my conversation with Curtiss? Maybe I'll put it up on this channel, but drop a comment right now. My producer's just saying, fans want to help artists. They really do. And I think because we're so like just playing the game, we're like plugged into the system. Hey guys, my new thing's coming out in 4 weeks, pre-save. Hey guys, my thing's out, go listen. So like fans do what they're told. Okay, I pre-saved. Okay, I listened. That didn't make you very much money. It's not that you're trying to even exploit your fans, but they really do want to support you. If you're like, hey, just so you know, it cost me like $10,000 to make this album. I think even Ben mentioned this, and he said he had put one of his records, I think, up for free. And then he just was like, you guys, you can donate whatever amount you want if you want to support me. And he's like, I made more money that way than like ever before. So I share all of that for you artists and you music producers out there on just trying to, you don't have to be desperate about any of this. And it's just more of, opening on, there's different ways to do this. And there's even another artist who had like a third take on this. And what he does with his fans is he has them, like they donate any amount they want, and they'll get a percentage in the royalties to the song. So, in a way you become like a business partner with your fans. So as of today, the last we heard back from TuneCore is that all of a sudden now they're having big conversations. I'm assuming that they're consulting with outside counsel. Typically with these big companies, they have in-house counsel, meaning there's someone that they pay full time, that's on salary, and that helps with the legal stuff. I've been speaking with that person. And then also they'll have outside counsel when things start to escalate. And I think we are one of those things that started to escalate situations. And so I think that they're getting counsel from their outside counsel to figure out what they're going to do, because I'm sure they don't want to cough up the money. And so, basically what happens from here? Top Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free master classes, and everything you need for your music business. Go to topmusicattorney.com. If we get the money, if they give the purge payment, which we've demanded, right? So meaning give us all the money, cut a check, send a wire transfer, whatever, tens of thousands of dollars. Obviously that would be a great win for our client, but that's a win for one person. And the problem still exists for everyone else that has dealt with the same issue, and they don't have me, and they don't have another attorney to help them. And so really they're just going to get ignored by TuneCore, or maybe they're on a different platform altogether. Because I understand some of you are saying that you're dealing with similar issues on different platforms. But the problem still exists because remember, the terms of service is a contract. Every time you agree to terms of service for any platform that you use, terms of service include all the legal stuff, all the releases, all the limitations of claims, all the use of your privacy stuff, right? We're going to sell your stuff and you're okay with it, and we don't read it. And the hope with just bringing awareness to this is that figuring out, and I do this all the time. I call it creative lawyering. There is actual lawyering where I'm doing legal research and I'm filing lawsuits and I'm duking it out over discovery stuff, which is literally what I've been doing all week long in one of my cases. And cool. That's my job. But creative lawyering is coming up with solutions that can try to make the client whole, that can try to help you guys in a meaningful way. Even if you don't know that you need help and you're like, I've been with TuneCore forever and nothing's happened, so I'm happy with them. Cool. It doesn't mean a problem's not going to come up because you're not aware of what you've already signed. And then what happens if we don't get the money? What happens when they come back and they go, forget it, we're going to take our chances? Because it's always a gamble. This is the conversation I would have with them if I was outside counsel. I'd be like, look, my analysis of this is, and let's even pretend I'm trying to play on their side. I go, I see what they're saying. This is an impermissible penalty. And yes, they have a claim, but this is a little artist, right? And they go, we're not sure if this really is going to escalate. We're not sure if they're really going to try to seek class certification. So basically it's a risk analysis. And I have this conversation with my clients as well. And so they could come back and basically just be like, based on all of this, we're not going to move forward. And then our decision will be okie dokie. So we're going to move forward. We're going to file this lawsuit. And then how far are we going to take it? As of right now, we are discussing moving forward with that class certification, which could involve all of you guys. So this is a family affair, and I'm so glad that all of you are here, and I'm so glad that you are participating in the conversation, because I don't know what this all will entail, but I just feel this sense of I really would love to become kind of the spokesperson in some kind of way. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand that I have a little bit more weight if I send a demand letter on my law firm's letterhead versus the power of even a YouTube video and getting it to go viral and having so much support from the public. That really helps. And I think maybe if there's a way to kind of piece all that together, that we could put this out there, start the conversation, get people involved, and then actually do something about it. That's exciting to me, and that's my whole focus. So with that all being said, something that I do want you guys to do and to try to focus, because I'm mostly on Top Music Attorney Instagram. I post everywhere, okay? So you can get help and education and stuff like that everywhere. But specifically, if you ever want to tag me in, news things, update things, just, if you want Top Music Attorney to kind of, look into stuff, maybe get involved in stuff, I don't know, I'm feeling spicy. This whole situation just really pissed me off, which is why I brought it to my platform. I talked to my client. I'm like, we have confidentiality. It's totally up to you. You can say no to this, but I gotta tell you, I am so fired up about this. And there's so many things that I do. I'm going on 10 years being an entertainment attorney and intellectual property attorney, and obviously I specialize in music. When things come up, it's you can talk about it, and sometimes you can do stuff about it. Again, the power of the legal letterhead. So with all that being said, who do you want to see, Curtiss or Ben? Maybe we'll show you those conversations talking about TuneCore, DSPs, and all the things.